This is part 4 of a 4-part series breaking September elk hunting down week by week. In part 1, I covered early September when I'm looking for predictable feed to bed movement and hunting transition zones. In part 2, bulls started separating, traveling more, becoming more vocal, and spending more time around cows. In part 3, more bulls were with the cows. Rut activity increased and calling became a bigger part of the hunt. Now we're into the final part of September, roughly September 22nd through the end of the month. This is probably my favorite week to hunt elk. A lot of elk hunters assume the best rut is already behind them at this point. I don't. So if you're interested, I'd love for you to stick around. This is when a lot of the breeding is taking place. That's what the biologists tell us. September 26th to 28th. Bulls have been with the cows. Now they've started breeding those cows. And once a herd bull has been breeding a group of cows, he has a lot more invested in keeping another bull away from him, right? That can make him extremely protective and vulnerable. Now, if I can get close to a herd, especially once the cows are bedded, I can put another bull inside his space. Now, I'm never trying to call him from 400 yards, right? I'm making him believe another bull is about to steal them. That's a completely different situation. Welcome to Backbone Unlimited. My name is Matt Hartsky. I've spent 34 years hunting and guiding Western big game. This is going to be season number 35 coming up here. 3 elk tags in my pocket. And I want you to understand that the last part of September is one of my favorite times to be in elk country. The bulls have had time to get with cows. The breeding has finally started. They've spent days and weeks herding those cows, fighting off satellite bulls, checking cows, wearing themselves down. They're just protecting that group. The relationship between that herd bull and those cows is different than it was 2 weeks earlier. He has more to protect. That doesn't mean I walk into the woods and immediately start challenge bugling. The system does not change. We're going to locate. We're going to evaluate the bull in the situation. We're going to position ourselves in the best spot possible. We're going to execute based on that information, and then we're going to adjust to the elk if we need to. I still have to get close before I start talking to him, and late September might be the very best example of why that matters. If I hear a herd bull bugling from 400 yards away, it's really tempting to talk back to him, right? But he has no reason to come find me. He already has what he wants. He has his cows and he's breeding them. His job is to keep that herd together though, no matter what. He wants it now because he got a taste of it. So I'm not trying to pull him away from him from great distance. I'm trying to get inside the herd space. If a bull bugles on his own, I read him first, right? The phone is still out just like it was during any other part of September. Where is he? How far away from me is he, right? Is he moving or is he stationary? What terrain is he in? Where is he probably going to go from there? Where's the herd going to go from there? Were they transitioning to bed in the morning? And can I close without being seen, heard, or smelled, especially if he bugled first? Then I move. If I bugled and got his attention to get his response, or cow called to get his response and he bugled back at me, then I might be noisy getting in there, right? His bugle gave me his location though, so I use it. That's the bottom line. I want to get inside roughly 80 to 120 yards, the bubble that I keep talking about, before I start making calling decisions. The closer, the better, in my opinion, especially when terrain, cover, wind, and the noise allows it. But until I get there, I'm still just in approach phase. Once I'm inside the bubble, I've got to know what kind of bull I'm dealing with. I've got to confirm it. Does he really have cows, or is he alone? Are the cows feeding? Are they moving? Are they starting to bed? Is the bull moving with them or hanging just off the herd? Those details all determine how I'm going to hunt him. A solo bull is a different encounter, just like it was the rest of the month. If he's alone, I'm staying non-threatening. A cow call can give him something to investigate. A trailing or tail end bugle can let him know another bull is nearby. If he starts coming, I stop calling, I let him come. I don't need to keep talking to a bull that's already doing exactly what I want him to do. But the herd bull situation is where the final week gets really good, in my opinion. We can absolutely have satellites running around and things can be crazy. And if you're happy with a satellite like I am, a lot of times that can be an amazing thing. But if I'm trying to target a bigger bull and I know that bull has cows, I want to get as close as possible to that herd without alerting. And one of my favorite times to do it is when those cows are bedded. Hey, if you hunt public land elk and you're tired of grinding through random seasons, I built the Elk Hunting series of ebooks for you. Most hunters don't struggle because they lack effort. They struggle because they lack a system. And that's exactly why I built the Elk Hunting ebook series as a complete progressive framework for Western elk hunters who are done guessing and ready to hunt with intention. Volume 1 is going to be Foundations and Reality. I reset your mindset and expose the assumptions that quietly wreck seasons. In Volume 2, Finding Elk and Understanding Pressure, you'll learn how elk actually move under pressure so you can anticipate instead of react. In Volume 3, Terrain, Wind, and Position, I break down how to use landscape and thermals to consistently create opportunities. In Volume 4, Calling, Silence, and Pressure, sound becomes a decision tool, not an impulse. In Volume 5, Bow Hunting Execution, we're talking about close range strategy so you can finish your encounters. And in Volume 6, Late Season and Post Rut, we're talking about how elk shift after the rut and how to adapt when others quit. This is a system built for consistency. This isn't theory. It's a structured system to help you find elk, read country, and make confident decisions every season. Buy each volume individually or bundle them all to save 50% off at backboneunlimited.com. Early in the morning, the herd might still be moving from feed to bed, that transition. The bull is busy keeping those cows together. He might be pushing them around. He might just be checking them like crazy. He might be running off satellites. Trying to call him away from a moving herd can be really difficult because the entire group already has somewhere to be, somewhere to go. So I use the transition. I find where the cows are feeding. I find where they want to bed if I can figure that out. And I use that terrain between those two areas to try to get in front of them, to get ahead of them. Good wind comes first in that situation. I want to know where that herd is going without pushing them. I position myself and then I wait for the situation to improve. Once those cows start coming into bedding cover, if I've missed an opportunity to kill them in the transition zone and they've started moving into bedding cover, then the hunt is going to change. I'm going to wait for them to stop traveling and settle down. The herd's not traveling across the mountain. The cows are staying in a much smaller area, and that herd bull is staying with them in that much smaller area. Now I can work into that bubble and make him believe that another bull has entered the herd and is about to take some of the action away from him. That's where the aggressive calling can be extremely effective. But I'm not challenging him from any kind of distance, and I'm not using a challenge bugle right away when I get in there. I'm getting inside his space. I'm going to use a trailing bugle or a tail end bugle just to let him know that a bull is there. That's all I want. I don't want to go right in there and scream. Might scare the cows, might scare him. Maybe he's not the kind of bull that wants to fight. It's not in his personality, or he's got his butt kicked before. Maybe he's not the biggest bull on the mountain, but he's still a bull that I'd be happy killing. I don't want to start with the challenge bugle. I'm going to let him escalate. So I will use a trailing bugle to start that conversation, let him escalate. Now it's game on. He's given me permission. I want that sound to come from close enough that he cannot easily ignore it, but I don't want to be too aggressive. A bull that has already been breeding those cows can be extremely protective of them at this point. So another bull raking a tree at 80 yards is not just noise on the mountain. It's another bull coming in to take his cows. And that interaction is what I'm trying to create. And so after I've started with the trailing bugle, he's probably going to mouth off to me, right? If I'm inside that bubble, then I'm going to escalate from there. Sometimes I'll scream back at him. Sometimes I'll only rake, because raking can be one of my favorite tools in this situation, where it adds so much realism to the story. I can sound like a bull that's already there without constantly bugling or making a mistake. I rake that tree. I break limbs. I stomp. I break sticks. I kick rocks. I'm moving around a little when the cover and the wind allow it. I make it sound like a bull that's working inside that bedding area. Then I listen. I listen to if that bull answers aggressively. Is he trying to cut me off? Is he already moving? A lot of times it's seconds and I can see antler tips when I'm already inside the bubble. I've learned something either way, though, based on his response. If he starts closing, I stop doing anything more than I need to. I let him come. If he cuts me off, but he stays there, that's a decision I've got to make. What am I going to use to escalate? If his bugle gets closer, if I hear him moving through the timber, though, if cows start getting nervous or moving around, I know the encounter is developing. I've got to change accordingly. I don't want to just keep hammering with bugles every 10 seconds. I want him to look for the bull that he believes is inside that herd without disturbing the whole herd. So there's some decisions that have to be made here. It's just not one call fits all type answer. Sometimes I might need to keep enough pressure on him to make him actually commit and to keep escalating. Sometimes I need to shut up and let him close the distance. I'm reading his response the entire time, and the cows a lot of times. The same thing applies if I can hear him raking. A herd bull raking close to me that is raking because of bedded cows is really good information. He's there. He's engaged. He's advertising himself. And if I can get inside that bubble even more with good wind, I can probably rake back before I ever bugle and trigger that response. Now I'm putting another bull into the same small area that's repeating his level of aggression that can turn him into a very aggressive bull very quickly. So this is why I don't like treating the last week of September as a time when everything is winding down. There can absolutely be a lot happening, especially in pressured areas. This might be your chance. You can have screaming bulls. You can have bulls that barely talk. You can have cows moving through that country quietly from bed to feed and feed to bed. You can have a herd bed early and sit in the same patch of timber for hours. I hunt what I have in front of me. And if the herd is moving, I use positioning and transition zones. If the cow's bed and the bull is holding them, I want to get inside that bubble. If he's responsive and protective, I can turn up the notch and get aggressive, and then things get fun. If he isn't, I don't force it. Late September hunting pressure also matters, right? By this point in the month, elk have dealt with every part of a hunter and their plan as possible for weeks. Some bulls have been called to repeatedly. Some herds have been bumped around. Some drainages have had people moving through them constantly every day. That doesn't mean every mature bull has moved 5 miles into some impossible canyons. Sometimes they do move into harder country. Sometimes they move into thicker cover. Sometimes they stay surprisingly close to your access and simply change how they use it. So I'm just trying to locate and evaluate. I'm looking for security, not necessarily distance. I'm looking for security that is anywhere elk can avoid consistent human contact and they can just do their elk thing. That could be a steep timber drainage or a bench that's hard to see from any trail. I've got to use my map. Could be creek bottoms that hunters walk past, because it just doesn't look right, or the patch of timber at the end of them gets overlooked because it's small, right? A small pocket that nobody wants to crawl into. Those are some of my favorites. I need to find where the elk are comfortable enough to stay. Then I figure out how to hunt that spot. So I'm just constantly trying to locate and evaluate. The transition zone system that I talk about all the time absolutely works the last week of the month. The cows still have to feed, the cows still have to bed, the herd still moves between those two places, morning and then back from the bed to the feed again in the evening. So I'm still asking the same questions. Where are they feeding? Where are they bedding? What route connects those two areas? Where does the terrain concentrate their movement? Then I'm looking at the micro terrain features, benches, saddles. Can I get there with good wind and set up? That transition can give me an encounter without ever making a call. So those transition zones are valuable all month. And if I stay with the herd until the cow's bed, I might get the encounter that I actually wanted anyway. So I still need that transition zone information. It's one of the biggest differences between calling a herd bull at long range and calling him after I've gotten close inside those transition zones. But the biggest difference for me during this week is a lot of times this is when I'm targeting herd bulls specifically. I'm not calling from long range. I'm calling him after I've gotten extremely close. I'm trying to get in there when he's got those cows and he has actually started to breed. He's not going to be pushing that herd away usually at that point. He can't ignore me. I'm inside the bubble and his choices have gotten smaller. I want to force that decision every chance I get. Two-person setups here can be really effective as well. So don't pass this up thinking I'm only talking about a solo guy just because I'm talking about how I would approach it. You still have your shooter out in front. You still got your caller behind. The amount of separation depends on the terrain and cover. I generally like to keep it in the neighborhood of 20 yards. The most important part is that the shooter and caller have visual connection where they can communicate a little bit. I still want that sound coming from behind the shooter so that bull moving towards the sound ends up in the shooter's lap or as close to it as possible. And if we can get close to a bedded herd, the caller can work that bull from behind the shooter while that shooter stays focused on the shooting lanes and where that bull's going to appear. We're challenging that bull. We're raking back there. We're using those same sounds to get that situation escalated, and the caller is going to pull that bull past the shooter. But once that bull commits, again, still not making any unnecessary noise. If he's coming, let him come. Every additional call is going to give him another chance to stop and maybe have a chance to evaluate, well, maybe I'm not just pissed off here. Maybe I need to try to survive, right? And so this is the way that we're going to hunt these bulls all week long, all day long. This is the week that I love. Some of my favorite late September opportunities have happened after the morning movement's finished, during this last week when the herd beds, the wood get quiet. A lot of elk hunters assume nothing's happening and they're back at camp or they've quit for the month. But I know that there might be a herd bull sitting inside that timber with cows that he's actually breeding. And if I can work my way inside the bubble with the right wind, I can create an encounter there in the middle of the day. It's not dead time for me. The rut hasn't wound down, in my opinion. This is it. It's one of the weeks that I live for. It can be one of the best calling windows of the entire hunt. I'm moving slowly. I'm trying to get in the right position by being very careful, stopping often, glassing often, checking the wind, listening careful, moving again, using the magic of still hunting to get close by listening for cows, branches breaking, bulls raking, quiet chuckles, soft panting, a single low bugle from a bedded bull. Anything that gives me his position, I work closer. I play the wind. I don't care how much he's worked up at that point. If my scent's going in the right direction, I'm good to go. And then I change my position as I need to based on conditions. This is how I get in there and kill those bulls in the middle of the day. Now, this entire 4-part series comes back to the same system, though. I want you to be able to locate. I want you to evaluate. I want you to position, you execute, you adjust where you need to. Now, the way I use that system changes from week to week. So if you haven't seen parts 1, 2, and 3 in this September series, Hunting September week by week, I'd encourage you to do so because early in the month, I might be hunting a quiet bull moving predictably between feed and bed. As the month progresses, those bulls are going to start traveling more and spending more time around cows. Then bulls are going to start holding those cows and responding to other elk more. And by this final week, I'm hunting bulls that may have already started breeding and can be extremely protective of those cows. Locate first, close before I call, read whether the bull has cows or he's a solo bull. Let the elk tell you how aggressive you need to be. If you have a herd bull in late September, especially once those cows are bedded, I'm looking for a way to slip inside the bubble and make him believe another bull has slipped into the herd. One of my favorite times to hunt elk of the entire season. Get close. Keep your wind right. Make the right sound. Let that bull make the mistake. Now, if you want to go deeper into this system, learn how I use this system to find elk, read pressure, understand pressure, work wind and thermals, build your calling setups, and execute once you're close. Start with my elk hunting ebook series at backboneunlimited.com. If you want ongoing coaching and a place to bring your questions throughout the season, join me on Team Backbone. If you want me to go through your specific hunt, your unit, your maps, your access, your terrain, maybe understanding of pressure, wind, and thermals, and your overall overall strategy, you can book an elk hunt plan audit with me. And if preparation is your weak link, you'll also find my hunting-specific training plans and nutrition plans based on my 30 years of experience as a professional strength conditioning and nutrition coach at backboneunlimited.com. Choose the resource that fits where you are right now, and I'd love to help you. Thanks for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you. I'll see you in the comments. Really look forward to that part of all of this. You know I read and respond to all of them. Until next time, train harder, hunt smarter, and never settle.